The state of Vermont has decided that the best way to get people to rent to Section 8 tenants is to pay landlords $10,000. But will it work? I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have another Section 8 story for you today. And you know what? It seems to be an unending problem because there's so many landlords out there right now who just do not want to participate in the program. I mean, you know what? I have no problems with the program. And you know what? There are so many landlords out there that are making good money off of it. But the bureaucracy alone is enough to deter so many people from even wanting to deal with it. But state of Vermont has a pretty good idea. And it's one of those ideas that I've been talking about for a while, right? The way that you get people to participate in the program, the way you get landlords to participate is you have to sweeten the deal, okay? You have to give us money. You have to pay us to take these tenants in, to deal with your bureaucracy and all that nonsense. Just the regular rent alone, it's not enough. It's not enough for a lot of these landlords to want to deal with it. So Vermont said, hey, we're going to give you 10 grand, okay? 10 grand for your rental unit in order to get these Section 8 tenants somewhere to live, okay? Is that enough? I don't know. I don't know if it's enough to make a big difference in, those people with vouchers looking for housing, but at least it's a start, okay? At least they have recognized that, hey, you know what? We're going to have to do more than just the bare minimum in order for landlords to participate in this program. And I agree, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. Do you believe that $10,000 is enough to incentivize landlords to want to rent to voucher holders, Section 8 tenants? I think it will help for some tenants, but I think the biggest difference it'll make is for landlords who already have Section 8 tenants, to get them to continue to participate in the program. They're like, listen, I already deal with this. I was thinking about backing out and not doing it anymore, but because you threw this out there, you know what? Now I will continue to do it and continue to provide my housing for those sorts of tenants, right? And maybe you'll get a few new landlords in there as well, but I don't think it's going to make the huge impact that they think that it will, right? We'll see. We'll just have to wait and see what the stats are after the end of the program, or after the program has been running for a little while. And the main thing I want to make sure of, though, is that do they have enough funding to actually follow through on this, right? I've read about so many great programs, and they have just minuscule amount of funding, and the funding is limited. It's only for a year or two, and you know what? You have to continually fund this sort of thing. If this is their priority, making sure that these voucher holders have housing, that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to continually fund the programs, and make sure that the pot is large enough that landlords will be able to get that money. Okay, but anyway, let's get into the article. This article is coming from waterburyroundabout.org, and it says the latest solution to Vermont's housing crisis: paying landlords to rent to people. Yep, and that's what they're going to have to do. So let's get into the article. Officials hope a new state fund can sway landlords to rent to people who might otherwise lack housing. The Vermont State Housing Authority launched the Landlord Relief Program last week with help from the State Department for Children and Families. Landlords who apply can receive funding up to $10,000 per unit to hold units for up to 2 months while they work with providers that offer housing vouchers. Recipients can also use the funds for any necessary work to bring units up to health and safety codes. So yeah, this is what the way the $10,000 works, right? So usually, when you're when okay, I'll speak from my personal experience. When I had a Section 8 tenant move into one of my units, it took about 6 weeks before I was able to get the first rent payment from the local housing authority, right? So it looks like this up to $10,000 per unit actually will be paying you the rent that is owed up until that tenant is actually able to move in. And on top of that, because you have to deal with inspections, etc., and you might have to spend a bit of your own money fixing stuff in order for you to pass the initial inspection, it looks like they're covering some of that cost as well. Okay, so this is pretty good. I like that. Okay, if they're gonna do anything and they can get that money to the landlords ASAP, then yeah, a lot more landlords are going to be incentivized to want to get those tenants in there. Now, my personal belief is that they should basically sweeten the pot even more than that, saying, hey, if your monthly rent for a normal tenant is $800 a month, maybe we'll give you $1,000 a month. That's what I personally believe is going to take. Okay, it's going to take a significantly higher rent payment before a lot of landlords are willing to say, well, you know what, this is a moneymaker and I am going to rent to these Section 8 tenants because the government is, sweetening the pot so much. The program originated from research by the Vermont Housing Finance Agency into the feasibility of a statewide fund to make sure landlords were being supported while also incentivizing them to expand the number of rental units in the state, according to Lily Sojourner, Community Services Program Manager with the Department for Children and Families Office of Economic Opportunity. We had some focus groups with landlords and housing providers to see what their key costs were, what they needed, and what successful elements of programs similar to this one in other states look like, Sojourner said. And so, for the past 6 months, we've been really working on building the policies and procedures needed while also bringing information to stakeholders. Yeah, and this is one of the first times I've read any article about, something new, landlord legislation where they actually said, hey, we had focus groups with the landlords. We went and talked to the landlords, figured out what their problems were with the program and what kind of incentives they are asking for. That is the smartest thing that I've read, in a long time. So many laws, so many rules, so many regulations, so many of these articles that I read, and they never talk to the landlords. They just assume that landlords will swallow the cost or that it'll somehow work out for us, and they don't even discuss why. They don't even talk to the landlords and figure out why the landlords are doing what they're doing. Okay, why they didn't want to participate in the program. And so yeah, I'll give them credit on that one here. At least they did that. Okay. The application process looks at how affordable a landlord's units are or would be. There is no income eligibility criteria for those who apply, but there is an affordability criterion, said Tyler Maas, program director at the Vermont State Housing Authority. So the unit must be affordable. The rent must be of gross rent, a combination of the contract rent plus the utility allowance, and must be affordable at 80% of area median income, which is 30% of one's salary. Potential tenants do not need to be screened for income level because their eligibility is based on them already benefiting from a state assistance program. Yeah, I'm not surprised that they have such big social programs up in the state of Vermont. I believe Bernie Sanders is from there. He's a pretty big socialist, right? So they have some pretty strong social programs up there in the state of Vermont, right? Um, I say landlords should just take advantage of the situation. And, you're not going to be able to change the state law at this point. But I do think that if you are already renting to Section 8 tenants, that this would benefit you. And I don't have any sort of problem with that. The program aims to deal with the state's deficit in rental housing, especially for those who are in higher need of housing, said Tom Donahue, CEO of Brock Community Action, a social services agency serving Bennington and Rutland. The point is, right, $10,000, up to $10,000 for landlords who are participating in this program who are renting affordable housing to these voucher holders, right? Seems like a good deal to me, and hopefully other states take notice and put out similar programs.